catalyst for change with the chance to thrive. Crystal is the one to stir up gifts and save lives. You get exposure, promotion, and marketing too. And advertise for business owners just like you. On Storytime, your interview is global. Virtual or in person, just come on the show. Yo, your story matters. Crystals will open the door. 40 years of experience, ready to give you more on Storytime. Get ready for story time. Hey, come on. Hello, hello, hello. Good evening. Welcome to Story Time. We are back. We are back. We are back. I'm so excited to be back with you guys. It's November 10th, 8:01 Eastern Time, and we are back to have an important discussion. And some of you have seen it. We talked about we're going to have an update, and let me just show you this picture. We told you to tune in live for the update from Dr. John Larkins and Mr. Ben Johnson from the Save SAU Coalition, and we're going to have what we call some lawsuit updates, okay? And we know that this has to do with St. Augustine's University. We have an upcoming case coming up with the Save SAU Coalition against St. Augustine's University's Board of Trustees, okay? And so we are here to talk about that and just get some questions answered. And I'm excited to bring on my guests. We've introduced them before. And we just want to let you know how we got to this point. In January 2024, there was a group of concerned alumni, parents, and friends that got together, people who loved our alma mater. So before we go any further, we want to tell you welcome. And we want to tell you to let some people know we are here. So right now, we want to ask you to go ahead and share this broadcast. Share it on your page. If you are Falcon and you attended classes at 1315 Oakwood Avenue and you are vested with us, we would love for you to share this out and let people know that we are about to have this discussion. And don't hesitate to share it with some friends. It is going to be worth it for you to let people know what's getting ready to take place today. And without further ado, I want to bring up two people that's a part of the group of the alumni, students, parents, and the former administrators from St. Augustine's University who came together to explore ways to save SAU in the absence of sound governance at the institution. Okay, so Save SAU was formed as a nonprofit with the mission for bringing together individuals and groups committed to working together to save SAU. And the coalition board of directors are always exploring different ways to make this happen. So first, I want to bring up Dr. John Larkins. Dr. Larkins, good evening. How are you today?
Good evening. Great. Always good to see you, Crystal.
Yes. Yeah. And we definitely want to add to join you. We have Mr. Ben Johnson. Hello. How are you, sir?
How are you, Crystal? Thanks for having me.
I'm so excited to have you guys here. I hate to have to meet like this. Sometimes when you get together, you say we wish it was under other circumstances, but we're here. Nevertheless, we're here. And we do know that we have some important things to discuss. And before we go into that discussion, because I know some people were here last time we were here, and they understand who you guys are and what you represent. Dr. Larkins, many know that you were on the board, that you work at the NAA-SAU, that you have a list of credentials and things that you do, but we want to give them the short version. So without me leaving out anything, I want to ask you to give us a quick bio and let the people know who you are and why you're here today. Starting with you, Dr. Larkins.
Okay. Well, thank you, Crystal. Appreciate this opportunity. There's a lot been in the news. There's been a lot of rumors about what's going on. And it's always good to be able to come on live and answer questions and, bring truth to light. As they say, truth will set you free. My background, I basically graduated from St. Augustine's back in the 60s, 1966. So, I'm probably the old guy, the OG in this whole thing. But I've been around working for the school since I graduated. I've worked in local chapters, president of the local chapter, the NAA in the district. They would call it the DMV. I've served as the president of the NAA. And by the way, what I'm talking or representing tonight is not the NAA. It's not endorsed by the NAA or whatever, but I'm solely speaking as a member of the Save SAU Coalition. So let me say that first. But I've been around a long time. I see you putting up the information on screen there. So I don't need to cover all that. But basically, I've worked with a number of HBCUs and minority serving institutions for years. I've had to raise money and do other things for those different schools. And I've always put St. Aug first. I mean, even though I have degrees from the Mecca, from Howard to in other schools, but St. Aug has always come first. And I see a need, a potential for St. Aug in the future if we can turn things around. We unfortunately, over the last 5 years, things have really deteriorated at the school. We've gone from something like almost 1,200 students down to less than 200, probably closer to 150. And it didn't have to be this way. If we could have made changes early on, found a niche for the school to bring it up. I mean, I work with a lot of youth, young people down here in Florida, and I know that they need a school like St. Aug, which will take them in, nurture them, and put them in a position to be successful. So there is a continuing need for St. Aug, despite what you see in the paper and what some of the other folks might be saying about the necessity of having 2 HBCUs in Raleigh. There's definitely a need, and we need to educate our young people to get them out there to be successful. So I think that's a good start. Let me say one other thing while I have the mic here. We are having a court date coming up with the board this Thursday, and I hope everybody will come out. It's 10 o'clock in the Superior Court right there in Raleigh on Fayetteville Street, I believe, and room 10A. And I think if we can get a good showing, maybe the judge will take into consideration the need to help save St. Aug, because this really, in my opinion, is a sort of the last straw. I mean, we have to make changes. We have to get people in there who will be respected, that can raise money and turn things around at St. Aug. I mean, otherwise we're going to end up losing our accreditation, and next year this time we may not even have a campus. So we need to get out, stand up, and speak up about what's going on. So I'll give Mr. Johnson the chance to say a few words.
Mr. Ben.
Okay. Yes, Crystal. Thanks for having me. Appreciate it. I guess now I'm left with following up with that. I will. I'm Benjamin Johnson. I'm a 1983 graduate of St. Augustine's. Worked in emergency management for over 25 years, primarily in Richmond and the city of Glendale, and then also for the federal government with FEMA. And I wouldn't be able to do any of the things that I have done in my life without St. Aug. I was my parents were St. Aug grads. Had been there my dad was head of the science department for 35 years. I grew up on the campus. I played basketball at St. Aug, was the captain of the 83 team at St. Aug. And so if you cut me, I bleed, bleed blue. So that's just kind of the Reader's Digest version for me. And that allowed me, all of those things allowed me to be able to I was emergency manager for the first African American governor in the United States, and at that time that was a plus, and also just in dealing with the political piece, and also dealing with Black excellence, and St. Aug is one of those things that we produced educators, doctors, and lawyers, and we need to continue that, and especially with the political climate that we have in the country with the DEI situation and everything, that there is a much needed need for HBCUs and primarily St. Aug.
Well, gentlemen, I have to say one thing. You know, there's a lot of Falcons out there who love St. Augustine's University. And, you know, we saw that on yesterday. Yesterday, I want to shout out Falcons Unite, Falcons and students, alumni, all of those people who had anything to do with the gathering that took place yesterday. It was really special. It was good to see some Falcons come out because, you know, we didn't get a chance to do homecoming. So it was really kind of nice to see some people yesterday. And I saw you yesterday, Ben. Do you feel the same way?
I feel that way and some, because the homecoming atmosphere and being around fellow Falcons, it's a feeling that I can't describe, but it is one that I love to have. Yes. And being around, and you can talk to a Falcon who graduated in 1966 and somebody who graduated in 83, and you talk about St. Aug, and it makes your heart flutter and bubble. And I was meeting some of the Falcons from the 1990s, and even some that are current students there now. And just to see that, you know, you can tell them, you know, I've been in your shoes, and you can do this. And that encouragement is something that I definitely got from St. Aug, and it's good to see that. And we don't need to lose that.
That's correct. That's correct. And we're so excited. And for those of you that are there, please join us and let us know you're there. Let us know where you're chiming in from. Let us know where you're chiming in from if you are a Falcon. And later on, we're going to give you the opportunity if you want to join us. There's a link that you'll see on YouTube. It's a link that you'll see. And if you click that link and you want to join us, you'll be able to. So, gentlemen, we want to get straight to it. There are some questions that people have. And I do understand that you guys are not answering these questions on behalf of the university. So we're going to put that disclaimer out there now. We understand that these questions are being answered as a member of the Save SAU Coalition based on your knowledge through this. So you're not speaking on behalf of the university. You're not speaking on behalf of the board. You're not speaking on behalf of the NAACP or any of those. Am I correct in saying that, gentlemen?
You're absolutely correct.
Okay, so I just want to put that out there first so everybody knows that's the case. So we're going to start off with the first question, and I'll put it up on the screen. The first question is something that we need clarity on because I think there's been some confusion, okay? The big question is Save SAU Coalition suing St. Augustine's University or just the Board of Trustees? I mean, there's been some misconceptions there about you guys suing the university. Could you elaborate on that? I'll start with you on this one first, Ben.
Okay. If you read our lawsuit from May, and I just have to go back to the document, it says the Save SAU Coalition and 3 other plaintiffs, John Larkin, Steve Williams, and Hank Dednam, versus the Board of Trustees. And it doesn't really get any more plainer than that. And that's what's on the document itself. So we're not suing the university. We're suing the Board of Trustees for them to be removed. And that's that is the leading part of the document of the lawsuit and of the complaint, if you will. So I go back to is that we've laid everything out there. We've done everything within the legal premise with our attorneys, And never does it say that we're suing St. Augustine's University. That is some misinformation that is coming from board members. And we aim to make sure that we are correct in what we're saying, but we have the legal documentation that usurps all of any of their misinformation that they put out there. And I'll turn it over to John.
Okay. Yeah, and if you want to really research it, the court date is listed with the Superior Court system in North Carolina, in Raleigh. And actually you can pull up the case right there on the docket for Thursday morning at 9:30. And it spells out, the Save SAU Coalition with 3 plaintiffs, myself, Mr. Hank Dednam, and Mr. Steve Williams, versus several specific members of the board and the board in general. And it's clearly spelled out right there if anybody wants to research it. If you have any further questions.
Thank you so much for clearing that up, because we want to make sure individuals understand. And another question I'm going to add to that is, are you guys asking the university for any money?
No.
No.
It's clear that the result of our lawsuit, what we really want is a removal of this board. Think about, if this had been a public institution rather than a private institution, this board would have long been gone, because, based on the merits, let's look at what's happened over the last 5-6 years. We've been challenged on our accreditation by our accrediting institution several times. The enrollments changed. We've had chaos in leadership. We've turned over the presidency 5 or 6 different times. We've lost credibility with the Department of Education because they haven't carried out their financial fiduciary responsibilities. So all of these things demand a change. You have to have good leadership, people who carry out their responsibilities. This is not personal. This is, if you were just looking at outcomes, what's happened to our school, our university over the last 5 years. Like I said, if this had been a state school or any other school, these folks would have long been gone, because the other would have demanded change. The problem with the way we're set up is we're a private institution and there's no accountability for the board. And so that's why we were pushed to have a lawsuit to make change. If they were willing to bring in people who were more responsible, could make good business decisions, we would not have been in this particular situation.
Thank you for that clarity, gentlemen. So my next question that we did get is a question that was brought up, and let's put that question up so you can see it here. The next question is, what has the $7 million loan, what did the $7 million loan have to do with this lawsuit, if anything? And do you have any knowledge of any way that this money has been used to eliminate the debt of the university?
Yeah.
I'll
start off, and Ben, you can chime in.
Okay.
The school, when it's lost its ability to draw down its money from the Department of Education, had no way to pay the bills, no way to pay faculty and staff, and do the things that it needed to do to keep the school operating. And so they needed to get money from somewhere. So they ended up taking out first a loan of $4 million line of credit from an Ozark bank, some out-of-state bank, with not very good terms. And then secondly, they ended up recently taking out this loan for $7 million with Gothic Ventures. It's toxic, predatory. If you have a chance to read our e-newsletter that just came out over the weekend, it spells out all of the terms. And it's almost impossible for the school to be able to get out from under. So instead of being a loan, this is going to end up being a sale. You read the document and the payment, and they won't even let you pay the loan off without having to pay a $1.5 million early payoff fee. It's ridiculous, the terms. So, and they specifically collateralized just about the whole campus with this loan. So for $7 million, if we don't pay this money back on the time that's laid out in the terms, those properties can be sold, and we have to go through them in the sale of the property. It's just, people call it predatory. I call it toxic and predatory, because it doesn't allow for an opportunity to spread this out. I think it's actually due in May of next year. So
yeah, 2020.
And we don't have the enrollment.
And,
we don't.
And yes, we, as John was starting to say, is we don't have the enrollment to even start to make an attempt at paying that back. And to have a $7.5 million loan at 26% interest doesn't allow for us to even start to attempt to pay that back. It doesn't help the school in any way, shape, or form. And in regards to the 7.5 million, when the SACS Association did an audit, and they came away with things that the university was had not done their fiduciary responsibilities, and this Bulwarian fiduciary responsibilities has caused us to be in harm's way. And we realize that we're going to have an issue, but we need to have the board to go, which is our lawsuit, is that we know that we're going to inherit a bad situation, but we can't make it better as long as that board is in place.
Yeah.
So they have to go.
Let me add one other thing. There are folks in banks or funding institutions that will help us.
Exactly.
If there's a change in the board. I mean, they've made that clear. And so there is an opportunity we're going to have to borrow some monies or sell some property. If we haven't paid the faculty and staff, we haven't paid bills, we got utility bills. I mean, we have lots of bills to pay. So we are going to have to make some good business decisions in terms of what to sell, what to lease, and how do we generate some revenues coming into the school. But right now, we don't have a lot of financial institutions who are willing to step up and help St. Aug with the current board of trustees.
Okay, so let me interject here. I am going to put up some comments that are coming in. There are some comments coming in. I have one that Stephanie Watson has put in there. She's from the class of 1996. She's calling and tuning in from Rochester, New York. She said, once the board of trustees is removed, what will be the next step? And then her second question that she asked also, and I'll let you answer the first one as a former board of trustee, Dr. Larkin, and maybe Ben, you can answer the second one, because she asked also, will there be a vote or individuals, will they be appointed? So if you can address those questions, that would be great.
Okay.
Okay.
I'll start off. If we are successful and we can remove the board, we will have to set up an interim board to manage the school, or some other form of governance to manage the school during the period where we'll have to redo the bylaws and come up with a more accountable system to operate the school. So there will be an interim period where we'll have an interim board and work with us in order to set up a plan. We have some ideas on a plan, concepts on a plan moving forward. So we'll need an interim board to do that. And then we will set up a better process. I think her question's a good one. How are we going to go about getting a board that has some accountability? And so we need to change our bylaws so that we can have alumni involvement, faculty and staff involvement from others in the selection of board members. And then also our bylaws has to have some clause in there to show that they're accountable. When you don't require that audits are being done in a timely manner, when you're not managing your budget, you're spending more than what you have coming in, you have to be held accountable. And that's what we don't have.
Okay.
Yes.
And we have another question also. I want to put that out there also. And with regard to the board, and Ben, I'll let you chime in too. When the board is gone, the board can be reconstituted with individuals that honor the responsibility. That's more like a statement instead of a question. But Ben, did you want to say anything about either
Well,
of those?
and I was going to say to the last question, yes, we will need to go ahead and look at individuals because it'd be an advisory type board, because we're looking for people to fill the positions so that we can move forward. One of the things that we've talked about doing is that we would have a series of basically virtual meetings to get a feel from the alumni of, we will present what we're presenting now, but what do you want to see? And then there's certain statutes that are in place with the state of North Carolina that we would have to adhere to. That, I mean, we just can't have a, willy-nilly, but it's got to be a give and take and a process of where we're letting them know what we're doing, and the transparency would be in place. So those are some things that we have talked about as this moves forward, and if we're successful, that we would have to take into consideration to be able, because we don't need a repeat of what we've been going through of the last 7 years.
Okay. And we have one other question that came in. Stephanie asked this: the interim plan, is that available, and can this be shared for review? And who are the tentative candidates available now? And again, Stephanie, please understand, we're speaking to the Save SAU Coalition. They are not speaking on behalf of the university. They are not speaking on behalf of the board. They are not speaking on behalf of the NAACP. So some of these questions may be good questions, but I just want you to understand who we are speaking with as you ask these questions as well. Anyone want to add to that?
Well, I'll start and let John follow up. But Stephanie, in asking these questions, they're very positive, and I take that as that she understands that, us winning this lawsuit, because those are the questions that we will be faced with, and we have taken some of those things into consideration, but we've got to get past this first hurdle, which is our total intent. And then, but we're not doing this blindly. We are taking those things into consideration because there's a thought process, and then there's an implementation. And what she's talking about is how we're going to implement that. So I appreciate the positivity, but we do have to think about, when we win this, how we implement it, and the things that we have in place of how to do that, because it's uncharted territory, if you will, but yes, it's not territory that we are not going to address. So, and okay, I'll turn it over to John.
Well, let me go on to question number 3, unless you have something to add to that, Dr. Larkins. Do you have something else to add to that last question?
Very quickly, we have been putting together some conceptual plans, but before we would come out with anything, we would certainly open it up for discussion. We would plan to be very transparent about what we're doing and what we see the needs of the university. I mean, one of the things that you want to do is do an analysis of what type of abilities and skill sets do you need on your board. And then when you lay that out, you have people you identify to go in there. And obviously we'd want to vet those people and talk to them first before we put anything out.
Understood. Okay, so we have question number 3. And guys, remember, as you're coming in, share the live. And if you have questions, feel free to put them in the comment box, as well as if there's anybody who wants to come up and join us, there's a link on Facebook in the group and also in the YouTube. You'll see the link that you can come and actually be on camera if you want to join us. But question number 3 is, Do you guys have any knowledge about what bills have been paid by the Board of Trustees of the university?
I'm smiling because in June we did ask for a list of bills to be able to pay them. I can tell you that there was a $300,000 water bill that had not been paid. There were plumbing bills that had not been paid. There was an electrical bill that was upwards of $350,000 that had not been paid. And these bills had not been paid since November of 2023. And so there's also a gas bill. These gas bill was upwards of $250,000. So there's been some issues as to what the funds that people were giving money to the school, what they were being used for, but we could definitely show that they weren't used to pay these bills, which are still, and a majority of these bills are still outstanding. Yeah. They're in arrears.
Okay.
Let me just add real quick. Because certain bills weren't paid, the university has already defaulted on 2 lawsuits. They lost a lawsuit to the company that did the landscaping on campus and made repairs on campus. That lawsuit was for over $1 million. They lost that. What does that mean? And there was another lawsuit for the people who installed the turf back there at the football field. That was about $600,000. So they've lost those lawsuits already. That means those people can force the university to sell off property to pay them. So far, they haven't moved towards that. But I mean, at any point they can. But, the other thing is we got the IRS where we owe close to $10 million. And, the bills are probably somewhere close to $40 million in total. And I think that's what the interim president said at the last meeting where he talked about the debt level for the school. And I think alums are trying to help, but there's no way we can raise that type of money without having a better plan.
And you said something there that leads me to my next question. TD Edwards, no, the court date has not changed. If you look at the information on the bottom of the screen, as a matter of fact, hold on, you know what? I'm sorry. I put that date, the court date is the 14th. I just realized what you're saying. Let me correct that. I see what you're talking about there. The court date is the 14th. I was talking about the 22nd, which is the event for PUP. So my apologies. I'm glad you said that. The court date is the 14th. Let me fix that real quick while I'm putting the next question in. The next question is going to be regarding what you just spoke of. Dr. Burgess being the interim president. We understand he's the interim president of St. Augustine's University. Do you happen to know when this probationary period is going to be over?
Well, I don't know if it's a probationary period. It's typically a contract. They give you a 1-year contract, and then they supposedly let you know months in advance as to whether or not that contract is going to be extended or if you're going to go from interim to permanent. So if my memory serves me correct, I believe Dr. Burgess came in either towards the end of 2023 or the beginning of 2024. So his contract probably run out.
Yeah. Dr. Burgess came into St. Aug in December of 2023. Actually, December 13th, 2023, I believe is the date. So he is in an interim process, and as John described, that's usually for a year. And then at that point, he would be notified if he's going to be the president or still remain as an interim status, or how they, I'm not sure as to if it can be renewed as an interim piece, but that's something that we would have to look at in the bylaws in that process.
Okay, let me just also, before I go to the next question, I want to clear something up because I had something going across the screen saying 11/22. Let me clear that up for anybody who saw that. I don't want you to get confused. Thank you, Ms. Edwards. On the 14th, which is this Thursday, is the court date. So we need every Falcon, whether you're local or whether you're someone who's going to drive in. We want every Falcon in the building in your blue and white. We don't want it to look like it did when the city met and there was nobody in the courtroom. We need to fill it up, be in some kind of paraphernalia, St. Aug, something. Let them see the eagle. Let them see the sign. Let them see it. Let them know we're in the house. Okay. Let's fill the courtroom up now. But I just want to let you know, 11/22. The reason why that date was going across is because we are having something to honor Coach Pup George Williams. So we want you to keep that date in mind. Also, that's the next important date because we're having a fundraiser that we'll mention for 11/22. So please keep both of those dates in your mind. Okay, the 14th this week, everybody who can be there, come, and everyone else who cannot, somehow keep us in your prayers, okay? And there was going to be a bus. I do see the question about the bus, asking will there be a bus? We talked about it, but there wasn't a lot of response. So what we're going to say is carpool, right. Get with your fellow Falcons. Y'all get here if you can. And please, please, please get here if you can, because we need to let the city know that we are here. Because a lot of times they're going to think, if y'all don't care, why should we care? You know, so that's going to be very important. We need to be there in our blue and white, some kind of paraphernalia, be present, let them know that we do care. We think that's definitely important. Would you gentlemen agree?
Definitely.
Oh, most definitely.
Yeah. I think it will have an influence on the judge's decision if they, like you said, Crystal, people see that the community cares, that the alumni care, you know, it could influence their decision in a positive manner.
I have another question before I go to the one that we previously had. Has anyone entertained a huge campaign to gain national and international attention? There are plenty of rich folks out there who would be willing to help, and they just need to be asked. Well, Love, we actually have a lot of people that are willing to help, but the contingency is the board has to go. So they don't want to give it to this board of trustees. So we do have a lot of people that are willing right now. Many Falcons have great resources, have individuals in their resources in their circle that are ready to give and help St. Augustine's. We will be okay. But they will not do it with the board of trustees that is there now. So that's what the issue is. Am I correct in saying that, gentlemen?
You're absolutely correct. Couldn't have said it better. We do have sponsors, fundraisers, and we've been doing this from an international perspective, national perspective. We have folks that want to give money, but they will not give money, and I'm quoting, good money over bad. And the bad process is that the board of trustees is there and they're like, that board has got to go because of the financial mismanagement. And once that happens, we've got to get the board gone, and then we will be able to bring in these additional donors and fund and their expertise to be able to help and assist us in getting us back on the right track.
So I have another question that was asked, and I have to post it because it was asked, and I don't know if you gentlemen can answer this question, but yesterday we had a great time. We had a cookout for the students. It was done by Falcons United and Falcons and Students and Alumni United. And the question is, why did the interim president make efforts to cancel that alumni cookout yesterday? And wasn't it at a church off campus hosted primarily for the students? So if you have any information regarding that, can you elaborate on that question, please? Yeah. Either one of you.
I don't have a real answer. I don't know why the interim president made that decision. These, Falcons Unite have given these cookouts on campus for years. Usually it's around homecoming time, and have done an excellent job working with the students and feeding the students. First of all, they were told they couldn't have it on campus. And then when they found a church that was willing to host it, there was efforts made to cancel. I don't understand it. I mean, to me, it's contrary to what you would think they would want to do. Particularly, you want to provide, events and things for these students who are there.
Exactly.
Show them some love. And when you show confusion and conflict, that's not helping keep those students, in the right state of mind.
I agree. I think
Yeah.
that definitely does agree because they complied. They moved it off campus. Ben, anything you'd like to add to that?
No, it's kind of basically just didn't understand that process, and that the interim president said, well, you can't have it here. We found another location, and then they made the attempt to go to the other location, which they have no jurisdiction over, to not have the cookout, which raises some other questions in regards to that. To what extent they would go to prevent a positive event taking place for the school and the students.
Yeah, that's a big one. The tri-state said the devil, somebody else said, oh, wow. But this is a good question. And I'm sure everybody had this same question, gentlemen. I'm sure this is the question everybody's asking. Is there any way around this board?
They got to go.
Yeah, I don't see any other way, Crystal. The way the school is set up, the bylaws gives the board trustees governance responsibilities. They hire and fire presidents. They review contracts on campus. They essentially, and they're not supposed to. I mean, governance is just providing some oversight, but they're essentially involved in everything that's been happening on the campus for the last several years now, which has not been good. We wouldn't have this chaos if they would, make good selections, hire good people, and step back and let them operate. But when you make bad decisions, that's what happens.
And Crystal, I go back to the SACS report, and there's two things in the SACS report. One of the things that were identified was that why we would go on probation is because that the board of trustees had too much affiliation with the day-to-day operations of the university, which they weren't supposed to. So that was one of the violations that had occurred. The second thing is that you do have to, as John alluded to, is that you have to hire good people that will carry out the mission of the university. And what we have seen, and they have their fiduciary responsibilities in order to be in the position that we're in now, that fiduciary responsibility was not done. And thirdly, back in February, we had put a resolution letter of asking them what they were doing and wanted to just be able to sit down and talk with them, and that we could lend help and we could give some assistance, and we had expertise, which they refused. And I go back to this, their form of fiduciary responsibility had a lot in question. And so we can't correct any of it as long as they're there.
Yes, and somebody put in the chat over there on YouTube, folk are not given to that board is going. And there's a good question that's in there. I'm going to go on to the next question, but Love said, is there a mechanism to get rid of them? Basically, Love, I'm going to say the lawsuit. That's why they're doing a lawsuit, because the way they have it written, they've kind of put themselves in a place where right now they're not, it can't be done. That's the reason why the lawsuit is in place. And I think that's the reason why the gentleman and this group of people had to go do what they had to go do, because there was no other way to get rid of them. Question number 6 is the terms of the loan the university has taken out. What ramification does it have if the terms are not met?
Well, quite simply,
go ahead.
We end up losing our campus. We end up, the whole campus is collateralized. In other words, they put the campus up to get the $7 million. You put up a $200+ million worth of assets to get a $7 million loan. It just doesn't make sense. And we know from that hearing that they had down at the Economic Council of the City of Raleigh, those folks sitting around at the table, they were smacking their lips. We want your land. And when they see this vulnerability by having this toxic loan out there, that's just an opportunity. So this is the problem. Now there are at least one group and maybe two groups that would help us out on that loan to give us better terms. But the contingency is that the board as currently constituted would have to change. They'd have
And
to
you
leave.
know what? It is sickening. It's definitely sickening, y'all. And somebody else said the last people they have to keep off the campus. But here's the thing. This is a message that somebody wrote. I want to let you see it. And she said, 2 alumni tops should be on the board. We need experienced board members, not just professionals in their field, but experience and understanding in governing a higher education institution. Point well taken. And yeah, somebody else said, yep, a lien on the property, yes. And somebody else said, yes, he called and tried to get the cookout canceled. And yes, it's happening, y'all. And I'm putting up the comments that you're putting it up. It's called freedom of speech. So I'm just putting what people are putting up there. And that's what it is. Oh, okay. Okay. Definitely. Now, sad, but it's true. We are here and we can't get around it. So we talked about it earlier. For those who are coming in, we just want to make sure you have it on your calendar. Make sure you understand clearly. I have it going across the screen, but let's just tell you, I think it's 100 Fayetteville Street, downtown Raleigh. I would say get there earlier. I thought it was 9:30, but it's at 10 o'clock now. And you definitely want to go to courtroom 10A. And I say, downtown
Crystal. It's at 9:30 in courtroom 10A.
Okay, because Dr. Larkin, I thought you said 10 o'clock earlier, so it's 9:30.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So that's why I'm asking, because it's so much going on. So at first I thought it was 9:30, but I have written 10. So let me change that. 9:30, guys. 9:30. So let me make sure. Let me make that correction, because I don't want anybody to say they saw it. So I'm going to remove that and fix that.
Because if you show up at 10, you'll miss it.
Okay. All right. And it blue and white. Everybody try to come in your blue and white. Now, I'm going to go back and correct that in a moment. Now, the WRAL report about our case mentioned the Self-Help Credit Union. Can you talk about who that is, please?
That's a credit union. I believe it started actually in Raleigh several years back, and they've been working to help do good projects, support good projects and people in first in Raleigh, Wake County, in the state of North Carolina. They've actually grown. And I don't know them personally, but I do know from discussions I've had with alums who've done business with them. They are very ethical and would try to help us, put us in a better situation financially, such that we could have better terms and be able to pay the parts of the loan so we wouldn't lose all of our land. I mean, like I said, at some point we're probably going to have to sell some properties, hopefully off campus.
We'll downsize.
Yeah, and to downsize. But the way it's structured right now, this loan with Gothic Ventures, I mean, it's just a total sale, wholesale sale of the school when you default. So the Self-Help Credit Union, I think, has stepped in and say, hey, we can get you better terms. We right now have 27% interest on that loan, Gothic Ventures, 27% interest. Who does that? I mean, maybe some credit cards, but not on other loans. And I think the folks from the Self-Help, and I haven't read it at all, said they could probably come in around 9%. So that would be a third of the interest that we're currently looking at. And then there's a prepayment penalty with Gothics. I think it's almost $1.5 million. So that means they put up $7 million. And if you want to pay off the loan early, you got to give them back $8.5 million. I mean, that's crazy. I mean, I understand it. If somebody's dumb enough to give it to you, you're going to take it. But,
Yeah.
Wow.
It's terrible. I mean, that's why I call it toxic and predatory. And I realized that they needed to pay the faculty and staff, because we know faculty and staff who were losing their homes, faculty and staff who were, looking at evictions. We've been trying to help as many of them as we could. And so they need to get paid. But there were better opportunities out there. And if their board had made changes 6 months ago, a year ago, we wouldn't be in this situation.
So let's talk about it for a moment. Are there additional donors that want to help and assist SAU? You did say yes, but just to let people know, there are plenty. There are plenty. I've heard of a lot. I mean, do you think there are enough donors that could get us out of this situation? I guess that's the question.
The short answer to Reader's Digest is yes. The timeline is what we would be looking at, is that we'd be looking at 3 to 5 years of getting totally out of this situation, but we can't even move forward as long as that board is there. We can't start to negotiate. I mean, and we're talking about this loan at 27% interest. John's being kind and calling it predatory lending, but the lenders, they know how bad a shape we're in. It's almost carnal knowledge. And so, in doing so, we've got to be able to remove the board to bring in a self-help credit union. It's not that we won't have a loan, but we won't have it at 27% interest, and we will have an ability to pay it back. And there's other donors, there's other folks who want to step in to help us, but they won't do that as long as that board is there.
So let me put this question out there before we switch so we can kind of stay on topics. Love asks, who had the authority to make the deal with the new credit union?
Okay, I'm going to do this. I'm going to tee this up for John to hit this one out the park. The authority right now rests with the Board of Trustees. There has been discussion with the Self-Help Credit Union and our Board of Trustees. And it was not received well. It was turned down. And so with that, when you have leadership making decisions like that, which is not in the best interest of the school, to help us, to assist us, and they would rather stay with a loan at 27%, it just doesn't bode well. It doesn't sit well. It is any fiduciary responsible person or entity would not make that decision. And I'll turn it over to John.
Yeah, well, I mean, think about it. If someone came to you and said, I want to help you out, you're in a bad situation with this loan, and I can help save you money and maybe save your school, and then people turn around and say, well, we don't know if we want to do that. There must be some reason for that, right? I mean, think about it. It's not rocket science. Somebody is looking to profit. And we've got this group out there, and there's a lot of, if you read our e-newsletter that came out where we're trying to connect the dots, there's a lot of connections with some of these people who are involved in running the school now and the Gothic Ventures and other things. So if your heart was in saving the school, you would look to try to do the best you could financially to reduce that. You would make changes where people would feel more comfortable giving. Giving is way down because people are concerned where their money's going. So,
Okay,
so we have a lawsuit going on, but if you think about it, why wouldn't the board want to have better terms for the school?
Yeah. And I know, Dr. Larkins, you have to get out of here real quick. So let me ask you this real quick. Someone asked, did I miss mention of the Episcopal Church? Have they stepped in at all?
Yeah, the Episcopal Church has been supporting the school, I think, all the time. They even, as most recently that can recall, in terms of significant dollars, gave the school $175,000 in the spring towards the audits, getting the audits done, and they still haven't been completed, by the way. And they've been individual churches, Episcopal churches, have been collecting monies to feed the students back in the spring and also provide support for the faculty and staff. So the Episcopal Church has been doing its share. Whether it could be more, I don't know. And whether it will continue with the current situation, there's been a lot of things that have happened to Episcopalians at that school and the Episcopalians on the board, which I think has had an adverse impact in the church supporting the school. So I think the church, if they saw a change, would be more willing to invest more. But again, everybody sees what's going on. And you don't want to end up like St. Paul's in Lawrenceville, Virginia, or Morris Brown. You saw Morris Brown, it took them almost 20 years to recover.
Wow.
We don't want to be in that situation.
So let me ask this question.
Yeah.
It's the last question that I have on the list. Is it true that Gothic Ventures set up a predatory loan, in your opinion, for 26%? I know you mentioned it earlier, but there may be some people who came in later, so I'm asking it again. And why in the world do you think SAU accepted these terms of that magnitude, 26%? Why would they accept that?
Yeah, we have bannered this question around, and we can't. I can't think for them, but what I can say is that when you have a board that doesn't understand the situation that they're in, and that there's a comprehension level, there is a understanding this whole situation, and there's a fiduciary irresponsible process. And as long as you have people that are in there that are like that, you will have decisions made like that. And that's why that board has to go, because we need competent people that understand and that have a fiduciary background, and we can meet the letter of the law, understand what we're dealing with. And as long as that board is there, you're going to have these irresponsible decisions that are made like that. And they've just got to go, because we can't correct it when you have irresponsibility and not a comprehension level to understand what we're dealing with.
So as I bring this to a close, and I thank everybody for being here, and Dr. Larkin, I'm going to let you say that, and then I'm going to make a closing comment and bring it to a close with one more key question. But go ahead, I'll let you add to whatever you want to say to what he said.
Okay, but think about what's been happening in the last few years, Crystal. Why have we gotten into such a bad situation? Why is it that we can't get the money from the Department of Education that's owed us from last year? Why wasn't some corrective action plan put in place 3 years ago to make sure the audits were done in time? I mean, we knew this 3 years ago. There were problems. Why wasn't there oversight of the payroll taxes being paid? All these different things. If you're carrying out your fiduciary responsibilities and looking into oversight, you know these things. You don't let these actions go on without being corrected. So, and then you look at who's bringing these loans in. I mean, the school was essentially forced into taking out this kind of loan in order to pay some of the bills and pay the faculty. You know, the faculty were getting ready to walk, and plus they were in a terrible situation. But before our time runs out, one last thing. Ben mentioned earlier that for the first time we haven't had a homecoming, which is terrible. But we are putting on a major event November 22nd to recognize our icon coach, George Pub Williams, at the Crabtree Marriott, 6 to 9. It'd be a good opportunity to come out and see some of the alums that you haven't seen for the last year or so, and also celebrate the contributions that Coach Williams made to the university. So I know it's not a homecoming, but if you can be there, come out. We're selling out. I expect us to be sold out soon, but we still have seats and we can still expand some. So if you're interested, just go to our website and get your tickets and show up and show out.
And could you tell them about the different levels and different ways they could participate, especially if they can't come? Is there a way they could still send money? And are you going to do anything virtually for those who can't be here in person?
There are different levels that you can be a sponsor. First of all, you can just buy some tickets, whether or not you can make it or not. But if you don't want to do that, you can be a sponsor. I think it starts at about $500. You get 2 tickets for that. You get your name mentioned in the brochure. We'll be running a live video of pictures and people who've contributed, sponsors throughout the event. So you'll have a chance to show that. But 500, 1,000, 2,000 on up gets you different. What is it? What's the word I'm looking for? But anyway,
well, different levels of sponsorship.
Yes, different levels of recognition. Everything from a quarter of a page in our brochure to a half a page. Get your company or whatever mentioned on our website. So for those of you who can afford it, would certainly help in our efforts to save SAU.
Okay.
Yeah, and I would just like to add that when we do this event for Pup Williams, one of the pieces of recognition that will be there is that the Department of Transportation, the North Carolina Department of Transportation, has the intersection on Interstate 40 and New Bern Avenue will be the George Pup Williams interchange. And so that'll kind of be a culmination of all of this. But, Falcons fly high, and he's one of our highest flying Falcons. So come out and support that.
And I just want to ask, for those who are wondering, this Thursday when we go to court, there's 2 ways this can go. They can say, yes, we're going to trial, or they can say no. I know that you guys have a plan for both. And so as Falcons, what would you say to those watching to keep them encouraged for either decision? I mean, because I think that's important. I don't want to see the morale go down. I don't want to see them give up. So can you speak to that for a moment so that people kind of are prepared for either decision and they know that we're still not going to stop there? Can you speak to that, gentlemen? I think that's real important.
I'll just speak real quick and then I'll let Ben fill in. But it can go 2 or 3 ways. One, we can win and the judge says you presented enough information that you have sufficient standing that this will go forward to trial. And I think when you look at the 52 pages of evidence that we presented, we have a very strong case that based on the evidence, I think we'll win. The only way we'll lose this thing is on a technicality. If we lose for some reason, we can always appeal. But we're in this to win. We're in this to save our institution. We're going to be there. We realize, it's a matter of battles. You're not going to win the war right out. So each one's a battle, and we're going to continue to fight. But we have talked to our attorneys about, options going forward. Hopefully the judge will accept our case and we can move forward with that. But if not, there are potentially some other options. We have to decide as a group, as a St. Aug family, what it is we want to do. How much do you guys really care and want to save the school?
And just to follow up with that is that we're not leaving any stone unturned. I mean, we have been doing a lot of work, and our attorneys have been doing a lot of work, and we're going to leave it all on the courtroom floor. And we one of the things that we've talked about, that there's a couple of options, and winning, losing, and we're not. That's something that we are not even talking about.
Right.
But one of the processes with our attorneys and in keeping it real is that, if we win, they will appeal. And if they win, we will appeal.
Yeah.
So we're in this fight and we're in it to win it. So we're putting it all, we have got some of the best attorneys in the country to be able to take this on. Eric David and Shayna Fulton. They have taken it on, and along with Brooks Pierce, which is an outstanding law firm. So, we didn't do this just for show. We are in this to win this, and until we got organized and put this in place, the board was continued to do its foolishness and that. But they recognize that we're not playing.
That's
so,
right.
and one of the things that I learned this actually from Pup, the other guy got to know that they've been in a fight, and they know we're fighting, and we can't let that go. So we're in it to win it.
Let me, without disclosing everything, let me just say we're not the only ones who are concerned about what's going on at St. Augustine's University and the Board of Trustees. I'll just leave that out there.
Repeat that, please. What you just said?
That we are not the only ones that are concerned about this lawsuit in the Board of Trustees.
Okay. And you see what Love said. She said we need some behind the scenes allies in the courts. Gentlemen, Falcons, supporters, we want to thank you all for being here tonight. And we want to thank you in advance for showing up and showing out on Thursday at 9:30 downtown Raleigh at Fayetteville Street Mall in your blue and white. And we just got to keep doing what we're doing for the believers out there. We want to thank you in advance for praying, because we believe that it's going to take that too, and we're going to keep it out there. And we look forward to coming back with an update after Thursday to kind of let you know what's next. We're going to keep you informed so you could do your part. Tri-State and every area that is represented here today, we thank you for coming out from Rochester, New York, and all the areas that you tuned in today. We thank you. We thank you. Get the word out, y'all. Get the word out that we are not going anywhere. Falcon pride is hard to die, and it's not going to die. We represent well. And I thank you, gentlemen. Any closing comments?
No, Crystal, appreciate you keeping this out there, because it's important to me and to all of the Save SAU Coalition that the alumni family, the St. Aug family, knows what's going on and gets involved. This is the only way we're going to win this, is we have a collective family to come in and fight to save our institution.
Ben?
Yes, and Crystal, I just want to say to you, thank you, appreciate you, and much gratitude to you in regards to just getting this out, and we're getting this message out. Appreciate you. And it was great seeing you at the cookout, even though we were kind of the long in the tooth alumni, but we're alumni, and that's one of the pieces of what we're fighting for, is that we've got a legacy to take care of. So I appreciate you. Thank you.
You're very welcome, and I just want to let you know, gentlemen, and I know Dr. Larkins, you have to go, so if you have to pop off, it's okay. I thank you so much. I want to say to everybody out there, share this live. Okay, you can share it on your Facebook page, you can share it in YouTube, you can share it in an email, you can share it in a messenger, you can share this live. Okay, and Ben, that's too. I'm just going to make some closing comments. So I thank you so much for being there, and let me know if you need anything else from me. Okay, but I just want to let everybody know, as we close, I'm here. This is story time. Story time is where we make sure we get the word out for you, whether it's a good or bad, whatever your story is. If you have a business, if you have an issue, let's talk about it and let the people know. Okay, contact me. I mean, that's what this is. This is story time. That's what it's all about. I generally do this on we do this every time on Sundays at 8 p.m. So DM me and let me know you have a story and we'll talk about it. All right. See you guys on Thursday. Let's stay optimistic. We're going to win this thing, y'all. Falcon Pride. All right. Keep hope alive. My name is Crystal Bodie Smith, and I'm your hope catalyst. And my mission is to stir up the gift, instill hope, and save lives. On that note, I want to say good night, everybody. Thank you so much for joining. Make sure you subscribe. Please hit the subscribe button. Subscribe to the channel and come back and see us again. And if you want to know about George Pup Williams also, at the end of this particular live, you'll see it'll point you to his interview, because I did interview Coach Pup Williams and he gave his story. And he definitely did tell us quite a bit that you would not know that he did while he was on campus. All right. Thank you so much, Falcon Pride. Good night, everybody. Much love to you. Bye-bye.